Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge. Hello my friends, welcome to another recommendation video, and today we have a recommendation from, we have a video recommendation from my video recommendation form, which just really spoke to me because I haven't done one like this, but I think it also dovetails in with a few of our other favorite topics for videos. And as you can tell by the title, this one is going to be If He Wanted to, He Would. Okay. Now that is something I think it gets put around on social media a lot, having to do with a hero paying extra special attention, doing something that he doesn't have to do, but when he does it, you're also yeah, any man can do this. It isn't just because they are super wealthy or because they are extra special in any way. It's just that they are paying attention, they deeply care for the heroine, and they go above and beyond to do it. But it's also that thing of I don't know, it's really there in the title itself. If he wanted to, he would. Now, there are a few types of heroes for me that fall into this category, and they kind of fit in two different tracks of things. Often it's a pining hero, or a lot of times, and I know I'm giving kind of, it's not even a warning, but I'm just telling you, there are a lot of single moms in this list, because I think that those particular mothers who are in that place, whether they're a widow or whether they are a divorced single mom or they were never married to begin with, they have been, missing that in their life where someone is, if they wanted to, he would, right? Again, a few of these heroines that I'll have in here, they are widows, so that's, not their husband's fault that they can't do it anymore. But just a woman who believes that she's never going to find love, or she can't because, will someone want her and her children, right? But again, they aren't all that one, so I don't want to scare you away if you don't want those. I'm just warning you that a good half of these involve single moms and the other half don't. But I just want to tell you that because I know I get people saying does there always have to be a single parent or a child? And as I've told you guys before, I understand that, but also those are the books that I love to read because I like reading about babies. Even if I don't have them myself, they're a very important part of it. And I find it very romantic when a man can love not only the woman, but the child that's not even his. Oh, I love that stuff. So without further ado, we'll get into it, and we're going to start with a couple of those, okay? So first off, we have Worth the Fall by Claudia Connor. And I would absolutely say that Matt McKinney is the epitome of a man who steps up and takes on what he doesn't need to, but does it with such a joyful heart and almost doesn't even think twice about it. And really it's the heroine who's are you sure? Are you sure you're in this? I was really planning to kind of be on my own for the rest of my life. And Matt's no, I think I'm totally in 100%, right? So this one is one I love to share about. It is only available on ebook and audiobook. I know, to my everlasting sadness, we don't have the physical copy of Worth the Fall. If it ever becomes available or it's ever possible, I will snap that up so fast. You have no idea. But as I've shared many times, the author has received the rights back for books 2 and 3 in the series, but book 1 still continues to be best-selling for them, and so they're never going to give up those rights as long as it's making money. That's just how it is. That's how the cookie crumbles with that stuff, right? But in this case, they meet on a beach, and we have Abby, and she is there with, I believe she's with her 3 children currently. There's 3 or 4. I honestly don't remember, but I know she's pregnant with another one on the way as well. And she is a widow. Her husband died, obviously, a few months ago. And this vacation, she still took it with her kids, but she's a bit overwhelmed having, I think all of her kids are under 7 or 6 or 7 or so. And so she is a bit overwhelmed. And Matt happens to be on this beach. He is there with a buddy for a short furlough. He's expecting, he is a active duty SEAL, and he is being forced to kind of take a little bit of a break. And so he goes to this hotel resort with a buddy, and his buddy expects them to both be hooking up with chicks, and Matt is he's open to that, but really he just can't stop thinking about work. And then this little plastic football, like, hits him in the head. And it was thrown by one of Abby's kids, and he gets sucked into playing for the day with them. And then he wants to see them the next day and the next day. And so for this entire week, while they're both on vacation there, they start to fall. And Matt just can't help but be sucked in by not only Abby, but her kids. And it just goes from there, you know. And Abby, she's really on her own, not just being a widow, but she doesn't have any family. Both of her parents are gone. And so her only family are her children. And, you know, so it's very scary to want to let someone else in, especially a man who, you know, he has a very dangerous job. And could she end up as a double widow before anything has even happened between them? So definitely high stakes in here. But Matt McKinney does not let, like, he does not let, like, any space form between him and Abby. He loves her and those kids equally, and just becomes, you know, for most of the kids, becomes the only dad they've ever known. And I adore them so much. And something I always like to say too, there's this book, and this book does have kind of an abrupt end. Like, it doesn't have an epilogue to it. It has a happy ending, but it has kind of an abrupt end. But there is actually a short follow-up novella that follows Abby and Matt through their first year together, actually. And I always forget to mention that one, but I found that to be immensely satisfying, especially after all the angst and, like, stuff between them. But yeah, Matt absolutely wants to, and he does. So that's what we're going to be saying about these guys. Next up, we have another man who takes on a single mom. And I absolutely love this edition. I truly do. There's a lot of books that ended up getting trad pubbed that I'm not a fan of their new covers, or I'm just like, whatever, I'm glad the author made their money, but I don't care. But I do adore the covers of the Miles Brothers books, the Mile High series. Now, as I've said many times, The Takeover is one of my absolutely favorite books of all time. Tristan Miles is my book fiance. I have a tier. It's been a long time since I've shared the tiered list, but I have a book husband. Jamie Fraser is him, and no one has come to his level. But I have a couple book fiancés, okay? And then I have book boyfriends who are all just great. But Tristan Miles is a book fiance for me, okay? In the hallowed halls of that. And so I actually really love the editions of this one because it does speak to the book. Like, they're in Paris, little couple walking there. And it's just such a stunning edition. It's really pretty. It feels soft. And they sent it with this beautiful little bookmark. And when I got the book in the mail, they actually sent it with a couple cute little mementos, right? So there was like a luggage tag, which I know those are cheesy, but I actually really like them. I've actually used the luggage tags I've received from other book boxes before. And then it came with a little spaceship figurine, which if you've read the book, you know what it is. But anyway, in this one, we have Tristan and Claire. And Claire is a widow. She has 3 sons. And her husband's been gone for a while, and she's kind of like, the business is a bit like struggling. And so Tristan Miles is a takeover king. That's what he does. He acquires businesses to loop into Miles Media, which is the family media company. And when he approaches Claire, she flat out turns him down. She's like, you will get your hands on my business over my cold dead body. I am preserving this business for my sons. My husband is gone. Now, her oldest son, he is 17. And then I believe they're like 13 and then like 7 or 8 or something like that, or 9, 13, 17, something like that. But her boys are a good range of ages. And so she's like, I am preserving this business for my sons, but she's really struggling. Now, Tristan, he takes that denial, but he also thinks this woman that is an absolute spitfire. He is so turned on by her and just obsessed. And he really wants to date her. And she's like, hell no. Like, no, I don't have the time and I don't have the interest in you, Playboy billionaire you. Well, fast forward a couple months, and she is actually in Paris for a business conference. Her mom is watching the boys. And Tristan is one of the men speaking at this event. And they end up getting a little bit frisky. And then they end up actually, I think they might be in London for the conference. And then they fly to Paris. I can't remember. Either way, she stays. And they have this whirlwind, like, you know, one night. It's supposed to be just a fling that they have. Because she's got sons to go home to. But they both fall really hard. And what I think T.L. Swan does such an amazing job. And even though I've said many times, for me, this book is a flash in the pan for me from T.L. Swan. I've read a lot of her backlit, like all of them except for 2 books of hers I've read. And even the ones that I previously liked, nothing stands out more than The Takeover does to me. I've tried and failed to fall in love with other books she's written, and it's this one. And you know what? That is okay. I don't care. It doesn't take away from this book that it's the only book by this author that I love this much. I mean, I like some of the other ones, but this one to me is just done so well because this is a lust first book, okay? They have a fling. But even in this sex they're having when it's supposed to be a fling, they're so vulnerable with one another. They laugh when they're having sex. There's awkward moments. There is funny things. There's inside jokes that get created. And it's just absolutely charming. And I think that is done so well because then when they get back to the real world, or back to their real lives, and Claire is ready to just let this fling go. And she's like, that'll keep me warm at night for quite a while that I have this fling with this billionaire. And Tristan is back and he's like, girl, we're going out again. And she's like, no, sir, we're not. What happens in Paris stays in Paris. Like, you asked me for a fling and I said yes. And he's just flabbergasted that she would let this connection go. But like, the woman has priorities. And she's like, dude, I have children. I can't play this game with you. And so Tristan's very hurt by that. But then, there are some other hijinks that happen. But then he meets her oldest son, not when her oldest son is trying to shove underwear down his throat. If you've seen it, you'll know what I mean. Or if you've read it, you'll know what I mean. If not, it's hilarious. Very funny scene in here. And he looks at this kid and he sees his passion and his want to help his mom and his younger brothers. And so he becomes an intern with Miles Media. And so that then forces Claire to interact with Tristan again. And it's not going to take long before they all fall in love. But the one thing that always sticks with me, and it always makes me emotional when I think about it, is that for these guys, or for Claire and Tristan, when they're thinking about things getting more serious, she says to him, like, there are more hearts than just mine on the line. And if you're going to love me, it can't just be that we have hot sex and a good fling. Like, you have to love my sons too. Like, you have to love all of us. And that is an endeavor that Tristan goes about doing. And the part of this book that is, if he wanted to, he would. He finds ways to connect with each boy. Even, particularly one of the boys who's just so anti-Tristan, he can't possibly see how he'll win him over. Tristan does it. And it's beautiful. And it leads to a point of the ending of this book, which just acts absolutely like breaks me in a beautiful way, is he eventually wants to help the boys save the family business instead of taking it over. And there's a beautiful part of the book where he's like, they're his sons. Like, I'll stop. I don't need to go over the whole book. I'm taking too long with these recommendations. But Tristan Miles absolutely wanted to, and he did. That's what we're saying about each of them. Okay, then let's just, let's just do all the single parent ones so that the people who don't want those can then just, like, skip to the end for the ones that aren't single parents. Because we have 2 more that are single parents here. So we also have Forever Your Rogue by Erin Langston. I'll try to talk a little bit quicker about this one. But in this case, we have another widow. Only this time she doesn't miss her husband at all. He wasn't that good to her. It was an arranged marriage. In fact, he was very dismissive of her. He doesn't even know the day that his daughter was born. He only cares about his son, and he dies. And when he dies, he leaves, I believe it's his sister as like the co-guardian to his children, and also leaves them in control of his son's money. And they decide that they want to hold this over Cora's head. It's really not cool. Okay, it's really not cool what they're doing. And Cora is desperate because she only wants what's best for her children, and the fact that they're trying to threaten to take the kids away from her because they don't think she's respectable enough or is doing well enough by her kids is absolutely terrifying. And so she talks with her brother, who is an attorney. He's a barrister. And they come up with this plan to have Nathaniel Travers, who actually owes Cora a favor, to pretend to be basically her, like, fiance or the person who's courting her, to show that, like, the kids might have a stepfather soon and that he'll be very respectable and all these things. Now, Nate, it takes some massaging, shall we say, to get him convinced to do this. But once he meets these children and he truly starts to feel the weight of what this means to have Cora's children possibly taken away from her, especially by people who, you know, just would stifle their creativity, which would try to force them, you know, to act a certain way. Like, Nate just completely falls for all three of them, like the daughters and, or the daughter, the son, and Cora, and he just can't, it makes him want to step up and be a better man and leave his roguish ways behind. And that makes Nate such a very special character, and watching that journey is so beautiful. And it also causes him to reflect on the fact that he had his, I believe it was his brother, I think it was his brother who kind of adopted him and his younger sister. I can't fully remember if it was a cousin or if it was a brother that happened, but he was basically adopted by a family member when his dad died. And I think it was the older brother. I think that's what it was. But he just realizes what a heavy burden that was, and how he's been a bit of a disappointment to who raised him. And it really causes him to reflect on, like, just how lucky he was to have that. And it causes him to look inward on, can he be that for Cora's children? Because if he's not going to be that for Cora's children, then he needs to, like, emotionally back off. Like, if you can't be all in, then just be here for what Cora needs you and move on, you know? And Nate wanted to, and he does. Okay, and then the final one I have here that is a single mom is, of course, P.S. You're Intolerable. Okay, as you can see, or maybe you don't know this because you haven't been around, all 5 of these ones were 6-star reads for me in the past. Okay, this is a trope that, again, I can't believe I didn't make an individual, like, oddly specific rec for this, because pretty much every hero that makes it into a top tier thing for me is one of these guys. Because so many of these, like, we're not even done with the ones that are 6-star reads. They're, again, not all single moms who have this, but Elliot is 1,000,000% he wanted to, and he did. Okay, this one is an assistant and boss romance, though, which I know not everyone's comfy with, but I think when you start to experience Elliot and you see how professional he is, up into a point where our heroine really needs help. Okay, Catherine very desperately needs some help. She is a pregnant single mom in the beginning, and she is his assistant. And when she has her baby, finally, she's on maternity leave, Elliot becomes aware of kind of the dire straits of the home she's living in and of her financial situation. And, you know, he has a couple of realizations. One, he can't believe that she's not being paid the full amount she's supposed to be paying, which isn't fully his fault. That's like an accounting issue, right? He just has hired her, but he still, when he finds out, he's like, well, that's getting taken care of immediately. And he also sees that she is exhausted and worn out, as any new mom would be. Like, that is just a fact, even if you have a husband, that's tough. But doing it on your own in a home that's not fully safe, he sees this home and he is like, there's no way I'm leaving Catherine, who he does have tender feelings for, but he's very much kept inside. But even that, he's the type of man that when he sees that, he's like, there's no way you are staying here for even a day more. And he moves her into his home, helps her find a nanny. He changes up the workplace so she's able to have, like, a safe place to breastfeed, and gives her all the time that she needs. And then when he does make his feelings known to her, he even makes it so that she would be safe if there's any fallout from their relationship. And he's just one of the most upstanding, like, billionaires I've ever read. Like, truly, Elliot is one of my literary heroes. Like, I know that's dramatic, but, like, I adore him so well. And for the, you know, I don't really have a problem with, like, power dynamics in romance, because I'm able to separate that from real life. But this is one where it could have been very easy to misconstrue a power dynamic. And there are plenty of people in reviews who feel like it's not done well. I mean, I'm not one of those people who thinks that, though. I think it is handled in a spectacular fashion, and I adore these people. Like, I just love them, and I love how Elliot handles it. I love how he loves Catherine and Joey. I love how he loves Joey. And so Elliot, he wanted to, and he does. Okay, then we have one that, it's a more recent one. I wanted to throw this one in there now. This one wasn't a perfect book, but I have a lot of heart for it, by the way, because it takes place on the North Shore of Minnesota, so I really liked it. But this one is called Take This Heart by Willow Astor. And this one actually involves kind of a like rivals to lovers situation, because Milo Lombardi, he's actually from a rival family to our heroines. Now, she isn't aware of this in the very beginning, but she does consider him kind of a rival in their workplace a little bit. So there's that aspect. But when he ends up getting hired by her dad to help work on a new family business, we're done with Elliot. Milo just makes it like he takes away every worry that she has. And though she has some trust issues from past relationships, Milo is dedicated and supportive, and he's there the whole way through. And even when he messes up, he continues to show up and be a presence in her life and be like, hey, I am devoted to this. I want to support you and do the very best that I can, and eventually wins her over. And so, yeah, Milo wanted to, and he did. Okay. Now, let's continue with this huge stack here. All right, not a huge stack. We have 5 left. We're halfway through. So we have Where We Bloom by Kristen Proby. Now, this was very difficult to pick one because this is another author who that's pretty much all she writes is if he wanted to, he would. But I decided to go with Where We Bloom because I think it's probably my favorite in the series. I love this one. And this one is Connor and Billy. And so Connor, he's actually an Irish hotelier, and his sister is living in this small town. That's where she settled for her dance studio she started and where she's trying to find some peace. But Connor, he's very close with his sister, so that means he's coming back and forth to this small town, and he decides he wants to build like a hotel there as well, because why not? There's plenty of business that comes through the area. And he actually ends up having a one-night stand with Billy when they don't know who they are. They have a one-night stand in like a different town where Billy goes to do some shopping and have some time to herself because she's a small town business owner, and she likes fancy things, and she likes to, take some of the hard-earned money and go to the big city and do thrifting there to find really cute clothes that are thrifted from the rich ladies there. And she's just so sweet, but they have a one-night stand there. And then when she is both back in town, I believe it's at a recital that Connor's sister holds, that they finally find out who one another is. And now Connor is completely obsessed. So this is an age gap billionaire best friend's brother, set in Bitterroot Valley. And now that he knows who she is and where she is, he can't resist her. And the steps he goes about making a lot of her dreams come true and making her his priority is really beautiful. Like, he's only supposed to be in town long enough to set up this new business and then be on his way. But let's be honest, his sister lives there. He's always going to be coming into town to see her. Because I believe his sister is married to now like her brother, or I think that's what it's supposed to be. But yeah. We love them. And Connor absolutely wanted to, and he does. And there's some great stuff in there for that one. Okay. Wow, I just realized, okay, only 3 of these left that I have are hockey. And they're all sports romances, which is funny. But of course we have to have Ryan Shay. Hello. Another, if he wanted to, he would, absolutely. Though I will say, of the heroes, he probably starts off the most reluctantly of them because he is very determined to keep our heroine at an arm's length. But his sister asked him to do a favor of letting Indy, who is, again, a best friend of his sister and a like coworker of his sister, to stay with him until she gets out on her feet. And he's just really trying to keep his distance from her, but now she's living in her house. But what I love about in his penthouse or whatever. But what I love about Ryan is even when he's like trying to be resistant to her, he still just starts doing all of these little things that show that he pays attention to her. Like, one of the things, she likes making iced coffee every day. So he will literally make coffee and then put it in the fridge so that it's there for her. And again, that's just such a sweet thing to do. They're not even dating or even interested in each other at this point. He just does that for her. Also, I don't want to spoil the whole thing, but there's something she's trying to save up money to do, and he finds out about it, and he finds a way to pay for it. Again, before they're ever dating. And he's just such a wonderful man. He finds out that, I believe it's her father who's deaf. He starts learning sign language before she ever even knows that, before they've ever truly started dating. He wants to be able to communicate with her dad. Like, he's just such a kind man. And then when they do start getting involved, well, then just everything about Ryan becomes centered towards Indy and the life that they can have together. And I love him. He's perfection. He's perfect. There's nothing that I would tear down about this man. He's everything. I love him. And if he wanted to, he would. And he does. Okay, let's keep going through my hockey list. That is so funny. That one is basketball, but these other three are hockey here. So let's throw in another one this one wasn't a 6-star read, but I still really liked it. And this one was an accidental pregnancy. And this is Slapshot Surprise. It is a part of the Cherry Tree Harbor series from Melanie Harlow. I have a little signed copy here. And this one is about Mabel, who is the sister in Cherry Tree Harbor. And then there is also Joe. And this was one, I believe, that Melanie wasn't going to write this one. Like, it was supposed to just be 4. And she had just, like, mentioned Mabel, like, in a, like, offshoot explanation. But then we were all like, girl, you have to give us Mabel's story. Now, Melanie Harlow isn't someone who just caves to that or whatever. But when everyone was like, well, come on, you have to give us Mabel's story. We want to know what happened to her. She ended up getting inspired and, like, did end up writing it for her. And I'm really glad she did, because it's one of my favorites in the series. I think Hideaway Heart is still, like, my favorite, but this one is close behind it. And this one involves them both being a part of a friend's wedding and ends up being a surprise pregnancy, right? And I just love how once he finds out about her being pregnant, the ways that he tries to be involved, the way that he tries to be around. For a good part of the book, they are just trying to be friends who are going to have a baby together. But of course, we have a romance here. And just seeing all the little things he does to make her feel, you know, loved and supported, again, even before he knows that there'll be more between them, when he's just going to be the baby daddy, which, I mean, is definitely not nothing. For sure, that's true. But I just love how he does it. So definitely Joe wanted to, and he does. The other little thing I'll put in is Joe is actually connected to another series from Melanie Harlow's as well, which I just love, because this one was the meeting of a lot of favorite things. Okay, then we have Reese Koteski. I have already teared up enough, and my nose is getting clogged from all the emotions that I've been fighting back in this video, okay? Reese Koteski, y'all, is one of the swooniest college boys that I've ever read, okay? Unsteady is amazing. I've read this book 3 times. I don't have a lot of time for rereading these days, okay? I just don't have a ton of time for it. But he holds up every time. And this is one that, this book has a kind of difficult heroine, okay? Like, she is very prickly. She pushes people away. She's trying to take on the burdens all by herself. She's very determined in what she wants. She's like, I don't have time for anything more than sleeping around now and then. And I'm not judging her for that. The woman is strapped, okay? So she's not a single mom, but she is taking care of her 2 younger brothers with an alcoholic dad who is hardly involved at all. And she's taking a lot of weight on. And then we have Reese, who, he was injured. He took a really brutal hit that left him with a concussion. And he's now, like, kind of scared of being on the ice. He has this, like, bit of a PTSD and gets panic attacks sometimes. And the way that these two first interact is that it is his private ice time, and he has a panic attack on the ice. And then our heroine shows up for her practice time, because she's a figure skater. And she finds him having a panic attack, and she shares her music with him, which I love. And it kind of snaps him out of it. And she's like, okay, glad that helped. I need to get on with my skating time now. But now he's obsessed with her. And the more and more he learns about her, the more and more he wants to help her and be around her. And she definitely does push him away, push him back again and again. But Reese sees something beautiful in her. He feels at home when he's with her, and he has wonderful parents in his corner who are also very supportive of this, and also very supportive of Sadie and her younger brothers. Like, the way that Reese's parents are supportive of Sadie and her family is just really admirable, in my opinion, as well. You know, because they know that their son could be a star, and they very easily could have You know, they very easily could have wanted nothing to do with this distraction who could only bring Reese down, but that's not who they are. And that adds a whole nother layer to making this book amazing. And so Reese wants to, and he does. Okay, and now this very last one to share. This is also one of my 6-star reads from this year. And I'm hoping to reread this one. I don't know if I'll have the time to, because I haven't like officially shared this anywhere. I'm planning to share it in a Q&A video that I'm going to put out, but I'm not planning to reread every one of my 6-star books this year. Just because I only have 6 of them and I don't think I need to reread them all, but there are a couple of them I want to, like the ones I read at the very beginning of the year. So I don't know, I might. But anyway, this book is The Girlfriend Zone by Lauren Blakely. And this book caught me completely by surprise. So I've enjoyed the books in this series. This one was book 4, I believe. They usually say on here. Yeah, this one was book 4. And I've enjoyed the books in this series. The audiobooks are all great. They're like a full cast audio experience. And they've just been good. And then this book hit me right between the eyes with this hero that was so romantic. And he pays so much attention. And these two spend so much of the book as friends that when they finally let things get romantic again, I'll tell you why they can't be together in a second. But when they let things get romantic again, this hero knows her so well that it just makes their romance something from a fairy tale. Okay, so in this we have a heroine who is hard of hearing. She's not completely deaf, but she does really struggle with it. And so sign language is very helpful for her to have, though she can read lips and get by. Her father is actually the coach. And the thing is this one isn't Reese, sorry. This one is Leighton and Miles. Yes, not Reese. When Miles and her first meet and even have their first kind of date with one another, they don't fully know who each other is. And they're having this date that's kind of lasting 2 days, you know, because they do sleep together. They're having this great time. And then she ends up back at his place and she sees photos and things up and realizes that this is one of her father's players. And she did not know that. And so it forces them to basically immediately end things. And it doesn't end badly. It really doesn't. It's so bittersweet because they know the connection they have. They know it's not just a fluke, but they also would never want to hurt her dad. Her dad has the rule of like her not dating players and players not dating her. And she's actually going to be becoming a photographer for the team. So anything between them has to stop before it truly starts. But it's too late, because they can't stop thinking about one another. But like I said, they become really good friends during this time. And so this book takes place, I believe it's over like 9 months to a year that this book takes place. And for a good part of the book, we end up then seeing scenes from like the previous books happen. So these two have actually been like pining for one another through the previous, I think, 2 or 3 books. And when, again, things finally get to happen, the hero reveals in a fantastic fashion something that he started doing all the way back when they were only still just friends. And it has to do with her partial deafness and how she can communicate. And maybe you can guess what he's doing. But when it's revealed what he's done, I was literally sobbing. And I was like, instant 6-star. That's it. I'm done. So he wanted to. And he did, without any expectation of there being anything romantic ever again. Just as a good human and a good friend, he does it. Also, there is a adorable locket. There's geocaching. There are sweet little pets involved. This romance was sweet, adorable, of course spicy because it's Lauren Blakely, but it absolutely had my heart. And I highly recommend the entire Love and Hockey series. It's wonderful. So there you go. Those are 10 heroes who they wanted to, and they did. And I hope you'll give them a try. I'll have links to them all down below. And let me know some of your favorites. And we'll see you next time. Bye.